exactly are you talking about? And why did the Nintendo work?
The best way that I can give is the comparison. You know the E.T. Atari game.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that they tell you about the story is they hope you watch the movie to figure it out because it's not telling you anything. You go around multiple different areas. You try and find the parts to build your phone. That way you can get the ship and then fly away. Game doesn't tell you that. It doesn't hold your hand. There's a dude in a trench coat chasing after you, and every kid knows not to trust that guy. So you and me instantly go running away from that. If you end up getting caught, you're down in a pit, and you have to waste about 100 or 1,000 points to get out of the pit and try and continue. That's the whole story, and it doesn't tell you that. Nintendo introduced not just text on screen, but text on the manual that came with the game, like gives you the basics of the story, give you an idea about the story. And
kind of like a board game. When you buy a board game, it has like the instructions or.
Yeah, there were moments where sometimes the game books were a little bit better than the games because of how much story that was in there, and you can build on top of that story in the game. Where like Atari, they just swing over the hole.
Figure it out, kid.
Or the Odyssey, stay away from the square, chasing after your 3 squares.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of games that tried to, like there was the game called Adventure. Truth be told, the first game that ever had an Easter egg. But even the story that they tried to implement on that was so bare bones. Today, no one would care for it. It's entirely from nostalgia factor that it holds a place that it has in the fantasy and story market. Mm-hmm. But Nintendo started introducing, and more often than not, they would have the text just crawl across the front of the screen or in between levels on the screen and get you ready for the story, get you the mentality of where you got to go with the story.
So it seems like you're saying to me that it's story that basically changed video games. Nintendo added the story to it so that people can get into like the background of it. Like if you think about like Lord of the Rings, right? You buy the books, you read it, but then there's like the Silmarillion, whatever that has like all this other background. You know what I mean? It's because I mean I'm into that. I'm into if you can get me hooked on something like a book or a TV series, or let's just say like I remember Zelda, playing it and liking it. And then my buddy who was like this complete geek on video games, who had like the monthly magazine or something like that, and started telling me all about the background, things that I just didn't know. Maybe I just had the cartridge. I didn't have like a book that or anything that came with it. And me just being so enthralled, so like whatever. If I liked it at a 5, I was at a 12 after he told me all the background to it.
Yeah, that's what Nintendo brought when they brought the Nintendo Entertainment System, or even during the Famicom. That's what Nintendo brought, is that type of story into a video game. Atari still had a couple of games, but they were like onesies and twosies. And even the Magnavox Odyssey barely even won tons. Like, I believe every 30 games had one that told the bare bones of the story.